Well, hello, crowd. I'm Jamie Belleza. I'm an Austinite, born and raised there. I'm a practicing criminal defense attorney, and I, every day, fight for the rights of individual Texans and individuals in the Texas courts, and as well as in the federal court. There are some problems with everything about politics today. We're all aware of that, but I don't want to really get into the negativity. I do want to say the Attorney General's office should not be a stepping stone for higher office, and that appears to be what all of the recent Attorney Generals are using it as. I also believe that if it ain't broke, you don't fix it, so I have no plans to go into the Attorney General's office if fortunate enough to be elected and make massive changes. I think, of course, the citizens should be allowed to tell us whether or not there are changes that need to be made, and if so, we need to look into them. The Attorney General's office can impact two major issues that you've heard others talk about today. And the war on drugs is causing massive problems in Texas. I'm looking at these kids that are here visiting the Alamo, and I was, an iconic location that stands for liberty. And yet I wonder how many of these kids are going to end up with handcuffs on, how many of these kids are going to end up in the criminal justice system, how many kids are going to end up in that same endless cycle of the same old thing being repeated in the system. We need to legalize marijuana in Texas because we need to stop dragging families down and caging them like animals. I also believe that police should be accountable, like Dan Behrman talked about. I believe they should be videotaped in every citizen encounter. As a chief law enforcement officer of Texas, I can see that that gets done. But it's also there to protect the police against people making false claims. And you know what? If somebody's videotaping you when you're doing your job, you're going to do your job better. You're going to do your job right. So it protects the people. It protects the servants, the public servants. I look forward to debating the same-o from the two parties, and I want to see if they can answer some tough questions. Y'all probably don't have any today, but if so, shoot them at me. Thank you.
And our last speaker will be candidate for Lieutenant Governor, Robert Butler.
Good morning. My name is Robert Butler, and I'm running for Lieutenant Governor for the great state of Texas as a nominee of the Libertarian Party because I believe in the sovereign power of the individual to have the freedom that they need in both the economic and personal spheres of their life. The Democrats and the Republicans try to make us choose whether we should have personal freedoms or whether we should have economic freedoms. Only the Libertarian Party defends all of your freedoms all of the time. Thank you. In addition, both parties have become irretrievably corrupted. We need to enact government reform to combat the effects of the corruption our two-party system has caused. Those are the three main pillars of my campaign: economic freedom, personal freedom, and government reform. I wholeheartedly agree with what George Washington said, that government is not reason, it is not eloquent, it is force. Like fire, it is a dangerous servant and a fearful master. George Washington knew how dangerous government could be, and he knew that a government big enough to give you everything that you want is also big enough to take away everything that you have. Like the founding fathers of both the American and the Texas revolutions, I believe that only just use of government force is in defense of our life, liberty, and property. I would leave you today in closing with a quote from Davy Crockett, who bravely passed away here at the Alamo in March of 1836. I am no man's man. I bark at no man's bit. I will never come and go and fetch and carry at the whistle of a great man in the White House, whoever he may be. And I ask you to vote for me on November 4th, because I too am my own man, and I will defend your liberties as much as we can, and to get government reform that's much needed here. And I ask you all today to remember the Alamo. También me gustaría hablarles en español un momento. Soy el candidato de vicegobernador del gran estado de Texas, nominado por el Partido Libertario. Tengo un discurso preparado, pero prefiero hablarles desde mi corazón sobre el asunto de inmigración. Mi esposa, como el primer vicepresidente de la República de Texas, Lorenzo de Zavala, es de Mérida, Yucatán. Y mis hijos también son ciudadanos mexicanos. Quiero decirles que sus problemas son mis problemas. Y también que nosotros podemos luchar para ti porque entendemos que el derecho de viajar y el derecho de trabajar es uno para todos. También quiero decirles que no deben tener miedo de sus derechos. Sí se hacen valor y nosotros tenemos que defenderles porque si uno está en peligro, todos estamos en peligro. Gracias por venir. Thank you.
That concludes our press conference for today. Our candidates will stick around to answer more questions or do interviews if you would like. Again, thank you so much for coming.